We are told our value is based on what we can do. And then you don't know who you are outside of that. I was back in that environment. It wasn't my place anymore. I was respected, which was fantastic. And that was part of the ego hit that was hard to let go. My job is the identity shift and the mindset so it doesn't take you a year and a half. I mean, and SHIFT stands for success happens in focused transitions. That to me is fulfilling, having really big dreams and having people with bigger dreams that can show me how to get there.
Hello there, it's AJ, your host of Code 3 Life Reinvented. Today's guest is a new friend of mine and someone that I really admire her work. Is a podcast host. There's a really nice fellowship amongst podcast hosts, as I have found, and this person happens to be one among other things. And I had the honor to be a guest on her show, and based on that conversation, it made sense for me to invite her onto my show, and I think you'll find out in just a minute. But I think what's really interesting about our guest today is the journey that she's taken and what she's doing now. And so with that in mind, I'd like to introduce a recovering ER doctor, Dr. Maureen Gibbons, or Dr. Mo, as I see on my screen here.
Thank you so much, AJ. Your friendship is treasured. Our podcast time has been great. Thank you. Yes,
thank you. And right back at you. So I like to just jump into things, and I want to ask you a hard-hitting question, perhaps. Not a gotcha question, but why aren't you an ER doctor anymore?
It's certainly not because I don't love it. I used to listen to a woman in nutrition. I've been in the nutrition space for a very long time. And she used to say, eat food that loves you. Eat food you love that loves you back. And I always thought that was interesting. And I could never pull it off as an aside, but that's another story. But I absolutely love emergency medicine to my core. So people ask, why don't you do it anymore? Until I got a little bit outside of it, when I was started to create that bandwidth, and something else came in that I could finally drop a couple shifts, because I knew I could be a better ER doctor if I just had some more bandwidth. And when that finally occurred, the more I got out and creating more in this other space, I realized, number one, I could help a lot more people than I could help in the ER. And almost more importantly, I could help the high achievers and doctors that are in those situations care for people better. So downstream, not as good of an ego hit, but I could help more people doing that. As a doctor running a trauma, I can save a mom to go home and hug her child. But as a coach of high achievers and physicians in that group, how many people can I get on the ground to have longer careers to help save more moms to hug their kids?
And what I find so interesting about your journey, and we're going to hear a whole lot more about it, is it goes back to last summer. I was traveling back to California, and we were visiting friends, one of whom is a former ER doctor himself. And we were catching up, and he asked me what I'm doing or how my business more is coming along. And I updated him on everything. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I know thousands of doctors, ER doctors in particular, who would really benefit by what you're offering. And I said, what are you talking about? Like this can't be true, because doctors are so mission driven. Why would they be interested in what more is about and in finding alignment? And at the time we were focused on career wellness, and now we've moved a bit more into the alignment space. So at the time it was around finding a career that aligns with what you're good at and what you love to do. And I thought, why would ER doctors not want to be ER doctors? They've gone to medical school for years and years and years. They spend a lot of money on their education. They're firmly committed. They're in the healing arts space in some capacity. ER doctors are saving lives. I myself have benefited by the service of an ER doctor multiple times, not to mention the 2 widowmaker myocardial infarctions that I suffered. If it wasn't for the ER team, I would not be here today to talk to you, Dr. Mo. So tell me what's going on there. What are you saying that's the root of this?
Oh, I'd like to tell you it's the system, because that would be easy to blame the system. But I think we go into medical training in a way that was honed 100 years ago, number one, by a man who had his own problems. Sir William Osler isn't the pillar we always thought he was, but he had a little help being up and at him. And I don't want the podcast to get knocked off platform.
What kind of help? All right, we won't ask questions. Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
Don't ask what he was doing. I think much like education or even finance, the systems have a hard time catching up with reality. And we're trained in a system that was formed 100 years ago. And I don't believe in work-life balance. So we can just start that. I think we need to have work-life integration. Like when you talk about alignment, my soul sighs. Like I'm happy. I'm just like, oh, yes, thank you. And that's not the same for everybody. And I think when we go into emergency medicine, we are idealistic. We are going to save the world. And we do. We save them one at a time, some of them. A good shift is always when nobody dies who's not supposed to. And we love that. Almost all of us love that. I would say the majority of the bell curve. Over time, though, when you see that much trauma over and over, you get what's called compassion fatigue. And it's almost like sending in a professional baseball player into the major leagues without nutrition training, sleep training, life training. We don't tell us how to train for this job. And emergency medicine it's physically demanding, it's emotionally demanding. For me, it got too emotionally demanding. And I couldn't separate any longer. I had too much empathy almost. I'm the opposite of most people, is that I didn't have compassion fatigue. I cared too much about people. I couldn't shut it down. So that was where it got really hard for me. But not everyone's the same. For me, I craved systems. I craved process. Every day of my career of 15 years in a level 2 trauma center, I craved. And I worked harder at my shift goals. I called them shift goals. Every shift I would go in and I would have a personal goal for myself. How am I going to do better on this shift? And I had specific goals. I didn't ever go in I loved my job. I didn't understand how much it was taking from me until I didn't do it. I didn't see it.
You didn't realize how much it was taking from you until you stopped.
My identity was so wrapped up in that. Even though I was an Ironman, did Ironmans, my son is 12. I have a marriage of 6 years. I'm like a lot of it with my husband for 30 years. And even though I had those things, I thought those things were core parts of my identity until I wasn't there. And I lost half my hair. I got shingles when I left the ER because so much of who I was that department.
Wow. You lost your hair, got shingles. That is amazing.
I had no idea.
Wow. And I'm guessing you're not alone in that industry, so to speak, that medical field.
I don't think so. And people say, no, I have other ideas. I rock climb and I skydive and we do the things. And it's not that the system doesn't make us take care of people. We take care of people because we're drawn to the system. We're drawn to healthcare. It's just, again, I had a therapist who told me many years ago, we seek the teeth that fit the wound. And I chose emergency medicine because it fit my need. And so that expanded and those roots held. Once you're off that hustle curve, you can't do it anymore. You physically cannot be as good as you were when you were 35, 40, 45. You just can't do it. And then what?
So I'm going to go on a few limbs here as just to set up the stage. I'm going to guess that you were a pretty driven student. I'm going to guess that you did well at college. You got good grades. No?
Neither of those. I was driven in high school. I did not do well in college. I barely made it through. Sorry to my patients.
Oh, okay.
I went back to school, to medical school. I do not have a traditional path. I was an athletic trainer, sidelines of football games and that sort of thing. Worked at high schools and I did that for 6 years. Before going back to medical school, I wasn't mature enough at all when I was in college. I went from no freedom to all the freedom.
We'll leave it there. Okay.
Yeah. Let's just thank goodness there was no Facebook. Okay. So I don't have a traditional, I was very driven in high school, lost my way quite a bit in college. Grad school got better, but I was still external locus of control. I was blaming my teachers if my grade wasn't good. I just wasn't quite there yet. And I was 22 at the time. So it took me another 5 years to kind of get my act together and do well on the MCAT because my grades were not going to get me into medical school, period. And then I kind of went from there, buckled down. Weirdly enough, it swung the other way. I became hypercritical, but I didn't know how to learn because I don't like the term neurodivergent because I think we all have our own ways to learn. and I don't learn in traditional ways. Who knew? I'm 52. That would have been really helpful at 17. However,
Right.
better late than
I
never.
understand. Yeah.
I don't have a traditional path. I am not the usual, for sure.
Okay. Glad we corrected that. I did not see that coming, but great context. But somewhere inside is a driven person who maybe found her swim lane, so to speak, a little bit later, and how to study, how to prepare, how to lock in, to go to medical school and come out. I certainly did not go to medical school. The worst grade I ever got in my entire academic career was biology in 10th grade. Like bad, like really bad. Like the kind of like bad. If I remember, it had a D on the front of it. It was horrible. And I had some personal things going on at the time. Not only did I not like the subject matter and dissecting worms and mice and all that stuff, that was disgusting. My mom had cancer. But anyway, the point is, like, medical school
nothing to do with biology.
No,
nothing. Biology has failed you in every aspect.
In every aspect, and the sight of blood to this day makes me want to pass out. Like, it's just not for me. Anyways, I'm going to assume that, like, however you got there, you found it, and you locked in, and you graduated, and you worked for, what did you say, 13 years in level 2 trauma center. I'm going to go on some more limbs. Maybe you'll correct me on some of these too, but let's just correct the record. I'm guessing you made some good money.
Yes.
Yeah, you made good money. You did for 13 years. You paid off your medical school tuition and loans.
Not even close.
So not even close even. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, yes. I've still got 14 more years of those payments.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Fair enough. That explains some things. Okay, great. All right. And when I say that, by that I mean I understand your motivation right now as I'm getting to know you. So in any case, you hit the line where you were like, I can't, this is, I don't know, however you want to say it, sucking the soul out of me. Like, I'm not myself. I'm not aligned. Was there a discrete moment where you were like, I'm out, I can't do this?
When I got fired.
That'll do it.
That was it. So that was a big part of it, because I knew in the long run, I had been building my lifestyle medicine practice. I founded a nationwide telehealth lifestyle medicine practice in the midst of, it wasn't nationwide at the time. It has gone nationwide since. And I was building this because as I did have an aha moment that was the beginning of my demise, honestly, where I just didn't fit in the department any longer. And much to my dismay, I mean, I thought I would retire from that department, like retire from medicine from that department, and work 4 to 6 shifts forever. Even if we relocated in retirement, I'd still come back, do a couple shifts. I mean, that was my professional home. And yet I did not fit. So I wasn't even asked to leave. I was told that I would no longer be working in the main department and that I would be working at a smaller department from then on. And so for what that's worth, that's why it wasn't of my own volition. That was the aha moment, so to speak, because I didn't have a choice.
In a way, and oftentimes, and now I feel remiss that I didn't do this earlier, oftentimes with people who are pivoters like yourself, I'll ask the question, what was your code 3? Which actually probably would have been the right way to start this conversation, right, given where you came from. But that, I guess, was your code 3 moment, your awakening moment.
And I knew it was going to be a better decision in the long run. I knew it. But it was so painful that it took me 1.5 years to get remotely secure with who I was outside of that department. That's why I coach people. It should have taken me 3 months. I can walk somebody through that in 3 months. 1.5 years of asking myself, or my son asking me, are you still a doctor because you don't work at the hospital? Out of the mouths of babes. Yes, I am. To quote A Few Good Men, I believe I've earned it. You know, but that's a level of respect, because we are told throughout our careers, and this isn't about the system. This is about us. This is about what we internalize. We are told our value is based on what we can do, how many patients we can see, how many lives we save, how many people we push through the department in a certain amount of time. That is our worth. That is what we are told, and we start to believe it. And then you don't know who you are outside of that, before that, inside of that. You have no idea. That's why people will go to the grave doing a job in medicine. I saw a colleague of mine die of cancer. I didn't know him very well. I mean, I talked to him for 15 years, but it's not like I call him at 3 a.m. with bad. I did call him at 3 a.m. with bad things, but not from home. And I always work nights. In the ER, I always work nights. So I was calling lots of people at 3 a.m.
Right.
But
Okay.
he worked up until the day he died yellow from cancer because he didn't know anything else. And until people see that's not who you are someone who does this. And yes, you do amazing things as a physician, but there's something else in there that's bigger than that. And one of my colleagues actually, when I was leaving, the day that I was walking out of that department, and I'll try to say this without crying because the farther out I get, the more important this statement becomes. He said, "You are emergency medicine, but you are not only emergency medicine." And I left. And I left that department for the last time that day, not having a clue. And I had a business that had fully replaced my income. My practice made more than I did as a doctor on the ground. But it was still so jarring to my identity.
Let's explore, like, what are you doing now? So you launched the telehealth, right? So you were doing that. And was that at all like a conflict of interest in the ER world?
Well, it kind of pissed people off, frankly. Many, many emergency medicine doctors, because we do shift work, your patient doesn't care if it's your first shift or your 20th of the month. So when I get told you should work full time, why? My patients just need somebody who's healthy and whole. They don't care how many shifts I work. Many emergency medicine physicians work more than one job, or they work locums where they work a couple shifts, who knows where, and then they come back. They do what we can do whatever we want because we're there to serve the patient, ideally, in an ideal world. So we don't really have conflict of interest. Most of us are 1099, so we're contract, although they tell us where and when to be, so just don't tell the IRS. They tell us where to go,
that
where
makes
to
you
be.
W-2.
Yeah. It's just convention. We're going to go with it. But it's the reality. I mean, it is the reality. Most of us are 1099. So we don't really have conflict of interest so much. Like if I wanted to pick up a couple shifts across town, people do it all the time. In the same vein,
Yeah.
it does happen all the time in this profession, which is very unlike most professions. So at the time, yes, because I was a bit early in this market for the new lifestyle medicine telehealth world, some of my colleagues did not like what I was doing. The funny thing is now they're doing the same thing, which is really ironic. So it's okay. I mean, it's not, again, if I hadn't gotten pushed out, I never would have left. So It is an absolute gift.
It's an absolute gift. And that's actually a great point for those that are listening to Code 3, in particular, this episode, and you were shown the door or asked to leave, not on your terms. Hopefully this part of the conversation will resonate with you and you can maybe learn from some of Dr. Mo's wisdom here. So how did that feel? And how do you move through that?
One of the things that I actually teach in my coaching is to bring the thought forward, to bring it into your frontal lobe. And that my first book is called Happy First, because that was my journey out of the pit. And that was where my brain was so hypercritical, I couldn't handle living there anymore. And in this way, it's because you think, and I had people very close to me say, "I can't believe you just lost a good job." I still had a full-time job, by the way. I had a full-time job at the smaller ER, but it wasn't my job. And again, that hits you in the brainstem, right? Hits you in that reptilian brain where I don't belong. I'm going to get kicked out of here. I don't belong. And bringing it to the frontal lobe and just over and over again, just saying, listen, but you know that this is where you need to go and you weren't going to go unless you got pushed. This is the universe in the form of a size 13 up the rear. Go. You're getting pushed. Yes, it's uncomfortable. And I always knew that it was the best thing that could have happened to me, but it was so painful.
Yep. Right. Loss of identity, loss of connections, your egos can be wrecked. Confidence can get shattered and on and on.
Yep.
However, you just said the best things that ever happened to you.
Yeah. I mean, I could then dedicate the time to my lifestyle medicine patients, building that business. And when I say building a business, people always think it means more patients or more money. No, it's solidifying the stuff you screwed up for the first 2 years, 3 years. You build things on a house of cards, especially when your business grows as quickly as mine did. And I grew organically through social media. Again, I do teach my people that because that's how I grew. I had my patients advertising for me in places because I love my patients. I love what I'm doing, which is why I only coach people to do things that they love to do, because that's how you connect with people. that was growing and growing, but I could then funnel my energy into that. How do I redo systems? How do I learn? Because we're in a new space. Yes, I'm coming in with a lot of skills, but how do I transfer those skills into this new space? I always joke, I'm like, listen, we can get you to 10K a month, no problem. That part's easy. If you want a little side gig, that's fine. I want to change the world. I want to change the way we see healthcare. I want to see patients get healthcare, know they have access at any time, because that's not something we feel like that they can just pop in and ask a question. I want to change the world. That 17-year-old that I said was really driven, yeah, she's back.
And that's the Mo I know. And you're new to me, so some of the past,
I like
I'm learning.
We'll just forget the other one.
Well, I'm learning about the full Mo, the full kaleidoscope, if you will, or the panorama of Mo. So if we go back to that moment you were shown the door, from where I sit, a doctor of any capacity, I hold in high regard. I know they've made incredible sacrifice to get through medical school. They're committed to helping people feel better. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is, yes, they're highly compensated individuals, but they've made a huge sacrifice to get there. But I think most people would probably agree with me, maybe some wouldn't, but that a doctor is a prestigious role in our society, a well-regarded role and highly thought of.
Used to be.
Yeah, maybe that's changing a bit. I don't know. But going back to when you, with that in mind, you're shown the door, those early days of, I'll call it recovery in the job loss variety. Describe your psyche then, and then this is a layup here, and now the psyche today. And we're going to go into what you're doing now here in a second. Walk me through those changes.
The two words that came to me, and I call these God thoughts because I don't think they just come in, and they come in and then they come out, is adrift to anchored. Because like I said, it took me a year and a half to really get any sort of footing. And I kept dropping my shifts because even at the freestanding, I only work nights. I'm a nocturnist. It's who I am in the ER by choice. It actually took my old boss, who became a higher up boss there, it took him months to convince me to take a differential to work nights, because I'm like, I'm choosing to work nights. I don't need a differential. This is my choice. He finally made me take it after many years. So anyway, I only work nights. So I kept dropping my shifts, realizing though, because I didn't know. And every time I'd go back to work the shift, even in the freestanding, I loved working with patients. I loved talking to people. I love having my nurses to work with. I didn't love it like the main, because the main it's a bit different. And
we say the main, wait, what am I?
The main ER. So like the big trauma center, the big ER, where I was out at a freestanding where it was single coverage, just me, 2 nurses, sometimes 3, and some other ancillary staff. And so that was my job for a year and a half. And my shifts kept dwindling because every time I would go, I would leave and drive home in the morning and have an existential crisis on the way home. And it would be because I didn't feel like I fit there, but it's the only place I had known was emergency medicine as a doctor. Now it was just really hard for me to reconcile. So when you talk alignment, what took me so long? Mm-hmm. Like if I knew every time it was an existential crisis, what took me so long? So here's the kicker. So then I stopped doing shifts and I'm still working on my 2 committees. One, I'm still a chair because I want to give back to the hospital. I'm a chair of the wellness committee. I worked really hard, sunk cost, to get this committee up and running. So I'm still chairman of the wellness committee, and I'm on another committee that I loved serving. It was a credentialing committee. I loved being on that committee. Well, I was still on those. And my husband finally said to me, every time you come out of that credentials meeting, you're different for 3 days. And I thought, crap. And because it got pulled back into the drama of who's getting credentialed, who's not getting credentialed. I was back in that environment of it wasn't my place anymore, but I kept coming back in and I didn't fit there. And then I was respected, which was fantastic. And that was part of the ego hit that was hard to let go.
I'll bet. I've been there. And it begs the question, if it's an existential crisis, and you asked it already, what took you so long? What takes one so long? Not you. I mean, you can answer it from you, but it's an interesting concept. Like,
yeah,
we're not the only ones who felt that along the way, that we were in the middle of an existential crisis, but we keep showing up where the crisis is happening. Why?
Why
what
not
are we
just
putting ourselves
go?
through?
Yeah. Why? Because that was, again, it's sunk cost. That's where I always belonged. If I'm not there, where do I belong? If I don't fit into that environment, like you and your financial services, if you don't fit into that puzzle as that piece, then you move out and you're like, oh, wait a second. I am the puzzle. I'm building this thing myself. That's terrifying.
And I was going to say, my answer to the question is, why do people keep going back to the existential crisis? It's a 4-letter word that starts with F and ends in R, and it's fear. And it's fear of the unknown. It's fear of change. It's fear of upsetting the apple cart. It's fear of transformation. That's how I see it, right? It's just like, and I get it because I've been there too, going back to where I'm having my existential crisis. I was afraid to lose the paycheck. I'll take the shots. I will take the mental health cracking. I will take the physical maladies that I was experiencing due to unbelievable stress and truly because of misalignment. I later found to be the issue I had. But yeah, it's just interesting. And I wish it wasn't that way. And I hope the work that you're doing and that I'm doing can help people. Right. And I guess you're still in the healing arts. I've entered the healing arts, if we can consider this healing. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, you look like you're about to say something. Go ahead.
Don't shortchange yourself on that, because I do think we've gotten to the same place in healing and understanding that sometimes there always needs to be someone there to stop the bleeding, but there are different ways to bleed.
So tell us, okay, so now we look at Dr. Mo Inc. We've got the ER a bit in the rearview mirror, quite a bit in the rearview mirror. Tell us about everything you're doing. I see a book. I get to see you on this, even though it's an audio podcast. There's a book over your left shoulder. So you have already referenced books. What are we up to today?
So I did just publish that book. It is called Freedom to Shift, A Proven Path to Stop Trading Time, Start Creating Freedom, and Shape What's Next. And that was my journey. As I always say, I bled that book. My first book, I kind of needed to get out there. But this second book it's a manual. It's called Freedom to Shift, and it sounds like permission. And I do talk about this in the book, and especially in the first part, that we feel like we need permission, sunk cost, right? I spent $250,000 on my education in emergency medicine, really. I mean, that was what it prepared me to do. Did it prepare me to do this lifestyle medicine thing? No, I learned that all on my own. Now, not the doctor part, the business part. And so that book is not just for doctors. That book coincides with my larger coaching group called Elevate. So I do coach high achievers in health, time, and income freedom. So I have a medical practice that helps get that health freedom kind of under your belt, so to speak, literally. And then you've got time freedom and income freedom. But funny enough, what I realized is that it's a Venn diagram. It's not linear. Health really does have to be a foundation, but you can't. I actually have a one-on-one client who just joined my medical practice because I think I need help. My mind's too scattered. I don't have enough energy. I can't get the things done that I need to get done. I think I need help from your medical practice. And I've been coaching him for like 8 months. And I'm like, it's about time because he had to get there. So we have different entry points. And I do have a physician specific subset that is in my Elevate. That's a physician freedom blueprint. That's a plug and play. If doctors want to bring their practice online to either remote or hybrid, we build out your back end. We have a healthcare consultant, a healthcare law consultant. We've literally all the protocols, all the SOP, we give it to you. My job is the identity shift and the mindset, so it doesn't take you a year and a half.
Good. Yeah. Shift the mind. Right.
Yeah. I mean, and SHIFT stands for success happens in focused transitions. Because what I don't like, and I'm not alone, I think I'm a special snowflake, but I'm really not, is I don't like being blindsided. So when I can take that blindside, take that hit, and create my own focused transition, what do I do with this? And then how do I make it mine? How do I own this? Dan Martell calls it radical ownership. I mean, he didn't coin it, but he just talked about it this morning, so it happens to be in my ear. And how do I own this? How do I make this mine? How do I shape what's next? And that's why the third part of the book is shape what's next. Because if you just allow what's next, again, you're not going to be aligned with it. And if you're just going to be hit, you're just going to keep getting hit.
Yeah, you bet.
So that's all the things that I do. Really, it's one thing. It's health, time, and income freedom. I just have different ways to get there for different people.
So broad strokes here, coaching business, author, podcaster.
A little bit of doctor.
And a little bit of doctor. And we're going to unveil something that we're working on collaboratively here in just a little bit. As you move through all of this, how have you redefined success or fulfillment for you now that you're in this new world and new career chapter?
It's really interesting. Like, that's a good question. Fulfillment is a bit easier for me. I'm laughing because if you've seen the Marvel movie Thunderbolts, so full, so filled.
I haven't seen it.
You're going to have to see it. It's so
I know. I'm like,
good.
oh, I want to say I saw it. Nope.
No, it's we're big Marvel fans in this house. So
gotcha.
But it's really fun. It's when I ever hear fulfillment, I'm like, so full, so filled.
So full. Oh, okay.
But the fulfillment for me is a bit easier almost because having conversations with like-minded people like yourself, being in rooms with entrepreneurs who are building big things, that to me is very fulfilling. And we think we can change the world when we're younger. It gets beaten out of us and most of us never recover that, which is a shame. That to me is fulfilling, having really big dreams and having people with bigger dreams that can show me how to get there. That to me is fulfillment. And that doesn't mean just in business, that's in my family. It's growing all of it. Like disengaging from work with my family, which is not easy for me because I love what I do. Loving what I do every day to me is success. But that also must come with the income. And this is one thing people are afraid to talk about money. It must come with the income. My floor in emergency medicine, my old the ceiling and the floor concept. When I was an athletic trainer, I stopped working at $42K a year. And working in medicine, there's a known ceiling of about $300K in the business world where you're going to top out. When you're trading time for money, you're going to top out about $300K roughly. No. And I can hear you guys. I can hear you. No. I was up to 500. Okay. I'm in rooms with people who make that a day. So let's think bigger. So to me, success is not about the money. It's growing the income because I'm working smarter and helping more people get their dreams. That's the key. Not just trading, I saved a life. Oh, I saved a life. Now, not that it's not a big deal, but it's one. It's one. If I can keep 1,000 doctors on the ground, how many lives can we save? Because they're leaving in droves. But they're like, but you want them to stay part-time. Yeah, and it's better than them leaving. So to me, success, it does come with money because that's how we know we're producing value. So my goal is to produce 10 times as much value as what I get paid for. That to me is success.
There's a metric for you. Yeah. Gotcha. And how did anything hold you back as you went through this, I'll call it transformation in your life? And if anything held you back, what did you use to move through it?
The fear. I think you're 100% right on the fear. Fear of losing people I love because they don't understand what I'm doing. I'm lucky enough to have a husband who doesn't understand, but will go with it, which is a gift.
It sure is.
I think because I live in fear. It's the monster under my bed. And yes, you have to be friends with it because fear is my base emotion. And sometimes it gets really big. And sometimes I have to do worst case scenario stuff for me. I've got to run through it. If this happens, what will happen? Like, are you prepared? Again, like some of that's even financial. Like, do you have the things in place to take care of your loved ones? Is it there? No, my AI clone is not done yet because I want my kid to be able to talk to me forever. Like little things like that. Like it sounds little, but it's really not. It's the important things are the things in place because my fears get huge. So in order for me to move past them or through them, it's not past, they're never past them. But in order for me to walk with fear like it's a companion that reminds me of how good I have things, I have to acknowledge it's there. I can't shove it under the bed. I just have to understand. I had a nurse many years ago when I had a rough go in the ER. It was a bad week. I lost a couple of kids. And she walked me outside to an experienced nurse. And my son was very young. I didn't sleep because I was literally watching him sleep at home. Like I couldn't handle anything. And she walked me outside one day and she's like, we're leaving the department. And she said, I want you to look around. There are all these adults here. Not all kids die. Because I have big fears. big, big fears. And I think we all do if we settle down long enough to sit with them. I mean, you came face to face with that fear twice, literally, and said, I'm not ready yet. Hold on. I've got things to do.
AJ2 Grim Reaper 0. Yes. Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But again, it's sitting in that fear. Will no one respect me any longer if I'm not in the ER? That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Will no one respect me if I'm no longer at the head of the bed?
Yeah.
I mean, in a trauma, that's my position as the head of the bed. I don't know. Will I respect myself? I mean, I think, and that's where it's shifted, is the real question is, do I respect myself doing what I'm doing, helping others in a different way? And I have to literally do things every day that when I keep commitments to myself, that's how we build respect. Maybe it's not as flashy. My ego doesn't like it quite as much.
Yeah. Fear, I tell you. How are people going to see me? How am I going to do this? I just a mentor friend of mine who's actually been a guest on this podcast uses the acronym Future Experiences Already Ruined.
Oh,
One way
I like
to think
that.
about fear. I know. That's why I said it. I've used it liberally since he shared it with me. And it's fascinating as fear can be a liar. Fear can also definitely save us from doom and bad mistakes. There's no doubt, but it can also be a liar. And I think you've alluded to it, I believe, on this earlier in this show. Like, how do I do this? How am I going to be seen? How am I going to move through this? How am I going to make it happen? So I think a lot of people struggle with this. I don't want to be a banker anymore. The heck am I supposed to do? I want to open, I don't even know what, a flower shop. I don't know. First thought that came to mind. Will I be successful? Will I know how to do this? Will I know how to buy the right flowers? Will I get into the right lease? Will I know how to market this? Will I have customer service that will be second to none? Will I blah, blah, whatever it all is? I don't know. Future experience is already ruined.
Yeah, it's already ruined. And I heard someone say once, it's premature practicality because you've already played the tape forward. You're already like, oh, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
But think about this. And this is why I call us the dangerously overeducated. And I bet 99% of the people who are listening to your podcasts can identify we are dangerously overeducated. I'm educated as a doctor, lawyer, executive, plumber, don't care. What else am I supposed to do? You weren't always an executive. Remember when you actually had to learn to do that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the difference is in a traditional setting, that path is laid out for you. When you're doing something new that is just your voice, whether it's your voice through flowers, your voice through painting, your voice through creation of content, there's no path laid out, or so we think, because there's no curriculum that's been accredited by a university. But guess what? There are hundreds of people doing what you want to do. You've just got to open your mouth and ask them, hey, how did you do that? And you're like, oh, they're too big. They won't talk to me. Guess what? They're talking to you on YouTube. Go listen. Get in the rooms.
Let's spend a minute and do a little promotional spin that will be completely unrehearsed by the two of us. You, me, and that ER doctor I referenced earlier have joined forces, and we are going to be doing a multi-part masterclass. I'm not even sure if we're going to finalize that as the term, masterclass-y thing. And we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. And it's aimed to specifically for ER doctors, given 2/3 of this assembled team comes from recovering ER doctors. And we'll cover some of the ground that we've talked about on today's show. That will be March 10th of this fine year of 2026. It'll be an online delivered solution or masterclass rather. We'll start sending out invitations or announcements early in February. What are you excited about this joint venture?
I'm so excited. My big thing is I want to give back to my profession. And we know the story about the crabs in the bucket where, your colleagues inadvertently, because of fear, right, we'll just pull you back to the bucket. I want us to show ER docs that there's no lid on the bucket. There is no lid to the impact you can have right now, that you don't have to wait until you this is not, you need to live today and not in survival mode. And like I said, I didn't even know I was in survival mode. And that's why I need my story. I need people to hear my story. This is what excites me so much because I loved my job. I didn't leave because I hated it. I didn't leave the burnout surveys. I wasn't burned out. I loved my job. And that's why, like, even in the book, running it through AI for grammatical errors, they kept trying to correct it and say, well, what about burnout? I'm like, I wasn't burned out. So I want to tell doctors, because the best time to grab them is 3 to 5 years out of residency. Not so they can leave medicine, so they can stay in it. That's what excites me. I'm like, we can save medicine. This is me.
I love a big, hairy, audacious goal, the good old BHAG. Like, let's go save medicine. Like, sign up for that. I didn't quite realize that's what we were doing, but hey, that sounds really cool. I'll do that.
I mean, but really, I want to keep doctors on the ground. I mean, I have a very good friend who left. I mean, and she and I stayed in emergency medicine for, I think, 12 and 15 years respectively. And most women in emergency medicine don't last that long, which is crazy, right? You think about a career. Don't really, like, you want to send the elevator back down. You want to mentor younger residents, med students, early attendings. That first 2 years out of residency is so hard. That's what was the first book. That was the pit, not the show. That was where I was at the lowest point you can be. I had a plan. I had a great plan, as it were. But I'm a doctor. I'm not gonna fail. But to show people, no, start early. Don't start when you're so burned out, you're crispy, your curves are so far apart that you can't make the leap. Start early, start building, start growing. Don't lose your voice. Don't spend 15 years losing your voice so it rips out your hair and your identity when you can't be there anymore. Start early. That's what excites me.
That's
Probably
so
sorry
cool.
you asked.
No, it's exciting. So this is our very unrehearsed promo, March 10th. If you'd like to know more about it upon listening to this, we don't really have a landing page up, but we will very, very, very soon. But you can email me rather at hello@bemorealigned.com. And it's more as M-O-R-E, bemorealigned.com. Dr. Mo, what would be one thing, whether we've discussed it and we want to reiterate it, or something that we've left out that we feel is important to share here, one thing that someone could take with them today, whether it's a tip, a practice, a book to read, something that they can do that's very tangible and actionable today to help them gain better alignment or taking steps towards a better path for themselves?
I'd love to promote my book, but I think more importantly, because my book it's long, so they can get that. That's fine. But I think the most important thing is something.
And that's the Freedom to Shift book. Little promo
Freedom to
here.
Shift on Amazon, easy peasy. Just you can grab that. That's fine. But I think one piece of that book I think is very important as a starting point. It's actually the first framework in my Shift operating system, and it's called the Vital Metric Review. What that does is it makes you take a critical look, and it's vital metric. It's not a time audit, because I want to know what's feeding your soul, what's taking away. It's a template. If you want that, you can just DM me on Instagram. It's at Dr. Mo Gibbons with the word podcast. And that'll get you my vital metric review, gets you into my world. That's the easiest way to get into my world right there.
There you go. And that just is a nice natural segue into how can people find you?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram at Dr. Mo Gibbons. I'm also, if you happen to be on WhatsApp and you're like, no, I just really want to chat and see if you can help me, you can actually text me directly, goes to my phone at 239-302-0726.
Right on. Very cool. Putting the phone number out there.
Yep.
Why not?
Nope. Information is free. It's like Dan Martell says, I'm going to die empty, hopefully a long time from now.
Hopefully a long time from now. Empty is empty of idea. You've emptied all your wisdom and knowledge out to the world.
It's all going out. Information is free. We're starting a YouTube series. We're starting a second podcast called The Biology of Better. So everything is coming out.
Love it. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with the world and helping to save medicine. That's our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal. I've really enjoyed this conversation, Mo, and I know we have some really fun work ahead of us in this joint venture, so to speak. I think some of the things that really jumped out to me in this conversation was around compassion fatigue. Was a really interesting term that I've not come across, but I think that was just really interesting. But this notion of being adrift to being anchored. and using that as a mental model for finding an anchored point for yourself. For those of you that are in an existential crisis, have a real hard look at why are you doing this and why are you doing it for so long? You don't have to hear it from me, a 2-time Widowmaker survivor, to know that life is short and take the steps to a better life. They can be small, baby steps, micro steps to finding a better aligned path for you. And Dr. Mo talked about the 3 freedoms: health freedom, time freedom, income freedom. And I'm sure working with her, you'd learn a lot about that. But I think those are 3 interesting life categories or buckets to think about. Like, how could I improve my life in a health standpoint and the time I get back for me to do the things I want to do, or the income that I live off of. And I love the acronym for SHIFT. SHIFT happens in focused transition. I think that I got that right.
It happens in focused transition.
So why did I say that? Success happens in focused transition. My note taking is not where it should be.
You gotta make it yours. Gotta make it yours.
I was like, why would you have SHIFT in the title when it's already the acronym? Anyways, success happens in focused transitions. Thanks for the correction. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to explore the More website, bemorealigned.com. Home of More, a destination for accomplished professionals who've been successful, but know something no longer fits. More exists for those at a crossroads, ready to move beyond autopilot, get radically honest. That's a very, very important thing. We talked about radical ownership earlier on this conversation, and build a life that's aligned with who they are now. As I mentioned earlier, you can get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you one way or another about anything that's on your mind. hello@bemorealigned.com. And remember, life doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It waits for the moment you decide to stop settling. When your status quo feels like a resounding status no, it's time to listen and act. Again, I'm your host, AJ Jones. Until next time, stay honest, stay aligned, and keep answering the call.